Hits your notes like an old man. He's got you thinking about your death and you are frightened.
Hi to everyone, I'm Ada from PoisonedRock, and today finally we have with us John McEntee, singer of the huge band Incantation. We can say legendary band Incantation. So I want to start with a common question, of course, especially for the newbie fan, the teenager that they don't know too much about that whole death metal school. Speak briefly about Incantation, how they started their career, and the current lineup.
Okay, well, I mean, basically, it started a long time ago. I mean, we started this band. I mean, I started the band in 80, late '89, like the August of 1989. So I mean, it was
Yeah.
really still a very early time in the death metal world. I mean, there was death metal was around, but it was like kind of like finding itself, I think, with
Yeah.
some releases and stuff. But I was playing in another band
Really?
at the time, which was kind of a death thrash band called Revenant, which was
Yes. I will go to that band. Yes.
yeah. I did that for probably about I guess it was somewhere between 3 and 4 years. I played with them, and it just got to a point where I realized that I just needed to do something that kind of expressed more my own vision in music. Because there was a certain point in Revenant where we just kind of started to have a difference in opinion on the direction, the way things are going. And I mean, that's normal to happen, especially at a young age like that, because I was just in my teens and maybe, I was still in my like mid to late teens. So you're still kind of developing as a person and a musician.
Your personalities.
It's natural for people to have a different, to work together for a while and realize, oh, I want to expand more this way.
Yeah.
And both the main people, I joined their band, but I was pretty important in the band at the time. I really took it on 100%.
Yeah.
So I kind of, but I just knew I had to move on and do something different. And Incantation was just kind of like something where, okay, I want to do, my vision of what I feel that death metal is, and I just wanted to express myself. And my whole goal was to find other people that were, wanted to express the same kind of, feeling and vibe as I wanted to do. And it was not so easy at the time because there wasn't a lot of death metal musicians at the time, because it was really early. It wasn't until around, I started in '89. It wasn't until really around mid 1990 when I really kind of found, a good lineup, and just everything kind of started to come together, But it took, it took a good year to get it together. But it was, it's kind of always been based around my basic musical concept, and then to try to find other people that relate to it. And it's not very easy, when you start a band. It's not easy to
find the other member.
Find people, but they might want to do things in their own way,
And you want people that think like you.
Yeah, so it sometimes can cause a little bit of a rift with people. They get annoyed because maybe when they start, they want to do something, my way, but then they realize they want to do something like what I do at Revenant. I want to do something different after a while. So and people don't understand that it's okay if people want to move on and do things that represent themselves. I support them 100%. I would never take that away from them. But anyway, so I mean, basically, you know, it was a long struggle. I mean, I was lucky to find our drummer who we have still to this day, Kyle Severin, in the band. He's been with us on and off, mostly on since about '94, and it really the relationship is really great because we just have a very uh, similar way of looking at things. We actually have a very similar upbringing, even though we didn't come from the same area. We just have a lot of same influences, and it just
Yeah.
very fortunate to be able to find even one other person, and then also like Chuck Sherwood, who's in the band now too. He's been with us a good over, I guess it's about 12 years now. So I mean,
Long
you
time.
know, he works. I mean, he's working out great in the band. I mean, he's we get along really well. Plus, he
Yeah.
just really, he integrated himself really good into the whole incantation concept, and it just works out really
Yes.
great. And then, the newest member that we have now is Luke Shively, which actually was our session bass player when Chuck couldn't tour for a while because of his
Yeah.
work. He was filling in and he's been filling in for about 5 years now. So once we did incorporate him into the band, it was very simple because I had like
Or you already knew
years of
him.
playing out live with him,
Yeah. Yeah.
practicing. So,
So basically, you just added someone you knew before. So it
yeah,
just yeah.
and I knew from jamming with him that he was a cool guy and a great player, and I really felt comfortable that he knew what the band was about, and he
Yeah.
has his own band, Dismemberment, that he does,
Yeah.
which is
Huge fan as well. Yeah.
like more of his style, but he's totally at the same time can integrate with our style in a way that really
You
helps
wanna.
us out too. Because
So
I mean, a band in general, a band is, you know, for us, it's four people, and everybody's personality and everybody's talent
yeah.
has something to do with the sound. It's very important that you have a good chemistry in the band, and
Yeah.
that people
Sure.
are able to kind of accent and play off each other and make
So I
pull the
mean,
best.
at the end, you were able to I mean find all the members that incarnate your thought of what incantation would be like at the end.
Yeah, and to be fair about it, different members throughout the time that have jammed with us, they all, throw in their own flavor to everything, and those are all,
Sure. Sure.
you can't just expect someone new to come in and be exactly
As
a
you
carbon
want.
copy of the last person. You
Yeah.
have to bring somebody in that could be themselves, but at the same time also bring out the best in the
Of
band
course.
and bring
Of
something
course.
special to it. It just, for me, it's great though as a songwriter, because I love to write
Yes.
with other people, and just I learned so much from working with different people throughout the years. But I mean, we've been just on a roll lately. I mean, since this new album came out, we've
Yeah.
been writing a lot of material with the band, and it's just been like a really super fun
Yeah.
vibe. For me, it's just great because I love playing music, and I love playing music with people that inspire me.
Yeah, that's amazing. And making you said, I mean, going back in the whole days. In 1990, your first demo was released, and there was a collaboration with Will Romer from Mortician, if I'm not wrong. What could you tell about this collaboration?
Well, I mean, it was really awesome because I met Will Romer through my friends in Immolation, because they live kind of in the same area.
Yeah, I
And
interviewed them, interview Immolation, yeah.
yeah, and they're great friends still. I mean,
Yeah.
we've been friends since I think '88 was the first time we met those guys, and I just had a great. We just relate really well. Great friends, but basically, Mortician, they were actually looking for a fill-in guitar player
Yeah.
to help them while they're looking for a permanent one. So they actually asked me to play for Mortician for a little bit, and I was like, yeah, that'd be cool, 'cause I knew it was a fill-in deal, I mean,
Yeah.
I only heard the rehearsal demo at the time, and I thought it was like super brutal and heavy. It was like so. It was a great, rehearsal demo, and I was like, I'd be honored to play in the band, and I went to practice, and I I knew my place. I was like, I'm here to, make what you guys are doing, the best it could be at the time, and basically I worked with them for about, I don't know, maybe about 6 months or something. And basically like after like a few, maybe a month after working with them, I asked Will, I was like, we're trying to do this demo. We don't have a vocalist. Would you come in and do session vocals on the demo, And he agreed to do it. And for me, I was super excited because you're talking 1990. He, in my opinion, he was the brutalest, heaviest, low vocalist that was out there at the time. Definitely that I knew. But I think, in my opinion, he's probably one of the first to be that brutal. I mean, I think a lot of bands actually, even bands that got more popular, were kind of influenced by him, but you just don't really hear about it, because
it happens.
Vocalists usually have egos, and they don't always give people a credit that they, they're
I know. The metal world is like that. They always look up for, just for the most biggest name in the world, but I think that our most musician underrated. There are I know very well.
And I think Will's influence on the death metal scene is underrated for sure, because there wasn't a lot of people doing it in the way that Mortician was, but for us to be able to get him to play in our demo was a great honor. I mean, I was super excited because
especially
I wanted to have a brutal vocalist. I mean, our first vocalist drummer was Paul Ledney, but he was great too, but he had more of that Jeff Becerra or Dan from Mayhem down to it, which was great. But I really wanted to take the band in a little bit more of a death metal sound. So I just thought Will would be the perfect person to come in and just let everybody know that we just want to be the heaviest thing you ever heard in your life, and he helped us be one of those things, It's great.
It's amazing. And also, and what about the famous festival, the Day of Death in Buffalo? What about that period? I heard it was really huge.
Yeah, there was a lot of really funny things about that, but it was a big deal because it was the first time that like Autopsy, Repulsion, Disharmonic Orchestra, like a lot of those bands, it was like at that time it was so amazing to be able to see those bands play live. So it was definitely like an underground, such an important underground show. Plus, I mean, just all the other bands on the bill too. Now, now they're legendary, but most of those bands on the lower part, like say the Suffocations and the Mortician, like us, we were still starting out just then. So for us, it was like a dream come true to be able to play with, bands like Repulsion, like I said, and Autopsy, whatnot. So it was a great thing. And and Gorephobia played too, which was another great band from our area. Well, what happened was with that show, Gorephobia didn't have a ride to get to the Day of Death, so they asked us, guys in Incantation, if we could give them a ride at the Day of Death. I said, well, how about we do this? Because we were trying to get on the show, we weren't on the show. We're like, well, why don't you let us play a few songs at the fest at the band with us band, and then we'll, I'll be more than happy. I mean, I'll drive you anyway, but if you could do me the favor and let us play maybe a few songs, just to kind of show people who we are. And basically, this was with Incantation. I was already playing there with Morticians, so I was going already. But we basically brought Gorephobia up to Day of Death. In our van, I think it was a van. Yeah, we had our van at the time, and we got there, and we basically, without even really like having a promoter agree to anything, we just went up and played after. I think it was after. I can't remember if it was after or before Gorephobia, but we basically just like Gorephobia. They only had a few songs at the time anyway. They had probably like maybe 4 or 5 songs, so it was easy for us just to go up there after their set and just go up and just play some. We only had about, I don't know, 4 or 5 Incantation songs, So we were easily able to get up there, and we just played right after Agoraphobia, because their time set was longer than the time set that they had available to them.
It was
And
perfect.
it was actually really good, because that's where we got our first notice by Relapse Records at that show, because they seen us play and they were just like, you know, holy crap, you know.
It was
And it was
like,
really where like Suffocation, Mortician, Agoraphobia, us, a few other bands all got kind of really recognized as like contenders as far as like real, you know, not classic, but just important new bands to come out, and like it was like a new generation of
that now is like the legendary generation for the
now it's like the old school, but at that time we all made an impact, and I thought it was a good thing, because if you really look at it, a band like Agoraphobia, Incantation, Mortician, and Suffocation, they're all good, but they all have different attributes that make them good, you know. I mean, we're not carbon copies of each other. A lot of scenes sometimes have a lot of a lot of similarities, but kind of our new.
I mean, I think this
New
is
York
what
scene
happenings today.
I mean,
yes, and I want to know if this is true, because people and media spoke that, like, for example, for the thrash metal, there is this big four. In New York, there is this big four with that metal, like with you, Incantation, Immolation, Suffocation, Mortician, all this band was like a big four from New York. And like the death metal scene from New York, I mean, it's like compared to the big four of thrash metal in San Francisco. So I want to say, if in your opinion this is true.
Well, I mean, obviously, it's a title like that is up to for the fans to say what they think.
Yes, of course.
I mean, I know that at that time, especially for just like the New Jersey, New York scene, which is kind of the same scene because we're so close together. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. In my opinion, definitely Mortician, Immolation. I mean, I'm happy that Incantation was part of it, and Suffocation. All were bands that kind of really made a big impact on a lot of the other bands that come along. I mean, there's no doubt, like, especially a band like Suffocation, they kind of like coined like almost that Long Island type death metal sound that kind of turned into more of a I don't know, a gore grind almost thing after a while.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like bands like Internal Bleeding. I think were very influenced by them early on, and Pyrexia and stuff. But you know, all of our bands. I mean, Immolation really for me was the top of the heap for the New York bands at that time. I mean, I was great friends with them, but I just loved their music, and I loved the way that they did death metal. To me, it was just they were just the best. But I mean, also, you know, Agoraphobia from Philly, they were really good friends of ours, and I really love that band too. I remember just, you know, we go to every show possible, even Mortician. I mean, it was just crushing, you know, because to see Mortician,
it's like a big family. It's like a big family.
Yeah, I mean, it was great because we had so many great bands, and they were just all crushing in their own way. So it's really hella killer cool. We're very fortunate to have such a great beat.
And coming back to Incantation, your first full length was released in, if I'm not wrong, in 1992, Onward to Golgotha, with the label Relapse Record. What could you tell about this first album? I mean, you went through a demo to a full length. How about the composing, the topic of the album, and the lyrics?
Well, I mean, Onward to Golgotha was basically a collaboration of everything that we did up to that point of an album. Yeah. And it was a magical time in the band because it was like things just kept getting better. Like every version of the band got better until we got to like the Golgotha lineup, you know, which was kind of like, you know, definitely a pinnacle of that time for us, you know, as a band.
It's considered one of the most important album in the death metal scene. So yeah,
it's crazy to think that, but you know, it was just it was just an amazing thing because all of us in the band, we were just on the same page at the same time. We wanted to really kick ass. You know,
Yeah.
it wasn't even really like, we didn't really have like a ego, say, before doing the album or anything. It was more just like we just really wanted to just do something that was like
Yeah.
really impactful. I mean, personally, my goal was to kind of do to the death metal world what an album like Possessed did to the death metal world. Like, kind of took the
Yeah.
thrash thing and brought it to, like a kind of the beginnings of a new style or something like that. And
Yes. Yes.
I wanted to make that kind of impact. I mean, I never
Yeah.
thought I would come close to being anything like Seven Churches, because Seven Churches to me is a
Cemetery.
iconic, important album.
Of
But in
course.
our own way, we were able to make something that was really special, and it was
Yeah.
substantially different than the other death metal albums that were coming out at that
Yes.
time.
But if I'm not wrong, in your second album in 1994, Mortal Throne of Nazareth, your sound is like a mix of between death, grindcore, Jew, black. What about this mixture of genre? I mean, you were trying to find a new I mean a particular sound, or it just came out spontaneously?
It was just, we weren't really trying to, we were just trying to express ourselves the way we wanted
Yeah.
to. But Mortal Throne, there's a big difference between Golgotha and Mortal Throne. I mean,
Yeah.
Golgotha, there were two things with Golgotha. Golgotha was a collaboration of everything up to Golgotha, but but with Golgotha, we were all on the same page as far as what we
Yes.
wanted to do with the
Sure.
band, and we were able to put that together on an album. Once Golgotha came out, there started to become fractures in the band, and then it affected, I think, I mean, no, it affected for sure. It affected the Mortal Throne Nazarene album. And it's debatable if it's good or bad, because it's hard to say, because you don't know how things would have been if we would have all got along really well and did the album,
Yeah,
compared
sure.
to all of us hating each other and still trying to get this album done somehow. So, but I mean, musically, it wasn't like we were trying to be so black metal. I mean, we were consciously trying to put more doom into the music,
Yeah.
because it was just part of what we really liked.
Yeah.
We liked we had some doom in I Want to Go Gotha, but we wanted to add another layer. We wanted to push the limits of that aspect of it. Plus, even just riff wise, we really wanted to push the riffs a little more darker, and just out of, without even really realizing it, the riffs were sounding a little more melodic and maybe a little more black metalish, just out of us trying to make it as dark as possible and stuff.
Yes, but all these album has something in common, that that the artwork was designed by Miran Kim. They use like a blasphemic design. How these choices? I mean, is a topic that you use also in the lyrics, or just was on the artwork?
Just the blasphemous concept. I mean,
Yeah.
no, I mean, the lyrics, especially for, I mean, really all of our lyrics are, say, blasphemous or controversial or something like that. I mean, it just kind of, goes with what we do.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, back then, we were very fortunate. We found Moran Kim as an artist through, actually it was through Gorephobia, because Gorephobia wanted it. Actually, she sent some stuff to Gorephobia to see if they liked it for release. They were supposed, because they were signed to Relapse at the time too. They never put out their album, but they were getting artwork from Moran Kim, and for them it didn't fit what they were trying to do.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Relapse showed us her stuff, and we thought it was great, because we wanted to have that kind of dark abstract art.
Yeah, that's amazing as well, of course. Yeah,
it was different. It was different than what a lot of people are using, like Dan Seagraves and stuff like that, which is great artist too. But for us, we're like, the music sounds different. We want that cover to also represent the difference in the sound and the lyrics. We wanted the cover to look somewhat disturbing, somewhat dark, just different. When you look at those albums, they look different than the other albums that were out at that time, and that's what we wanted. We wanted people to see it and know that this isn't just another.
The death metal band, but they are on,
Yeah,
or your personality.
at
Your
that
sound.
time, a big issue was too many bands just around the world were going to
Yeah.
Morrisound to record. And I have nothing against Morrisound, but so many bands were going there and asking Morrisound to make them sound like the other band that just went to Morrisound. And, we were like, this is not, in our opinion, this is not the way you're supposed to be. A band's supposed to be
I agree.
individual.
I agree. I agree. Yeah.
Not supposed to be just a carbon copy of the other ones.
No,
I mean,
no one should do like this. But of course, as you may know, right now today is a different way of living. You had the fortune as musician to live in a great area for death metal. So for the beginning, I mean, you were at the beginning, so it was like something really important. And I also know that Incantation toured with Sinister, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah,
You
Europe,
were touring with this huge band as well.
Well, it was great because we were actually really having a problem getting over to Europe because Nuclear Blast released Onward to Golgotha in Europe, but they didn't like the album, so they didn't really push it too hard, and they just weren't that interested. But it was Ad and what's the other guy? I can't think of the other guy's name. But it was Ad from Sinister, the drummer at the time. Really, when he told Nuclear Blast, for their European tour, they wanted us. They basically asked for us to play with
them. That's
amazing.
That's amazing. I mean, it's huge because they call you from touring Europe, and I mean, because as I know, Nuclear Blast is one of the biggest label here in Europe, maybe the biggest here in Europe. Yeah, that's amazing.
And so it was super exciting to have them ask us to do a tour. At that time, it was our first time going to Europe, and we were fortunate to be able to get to do such a killer tour.
Yes, and coming back to the Incantation. After many lineup changes, you came back in '97 with a new label, a Spanish label, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
So this change of label and all these changes of lineup, also these bring new this influenced your sound a little bit.
Of course, yeah. If there's changes in lineups and stuff like that, of course it's going to change the sound.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it stays close because I'm always the primary songwriter. But when you add other people into it, there's going to be different aspects that are going to be able to be explored with the songs. To make a good album or to make any good song, everybody has to be doing the best they can, and they bring their own flavor to it. But we did that the Forsaken Morning of Angelic Anguish EP for was it Repulse Records in Madrid. It was basically we went with another label because after Moral Throw Up Nazarene, like I briefly mentioned before, it was kind of like a turmoil time in the band, and it also was very crazy with the record company. Everything was just a real mess with everything. So we wanted to just kind of get a little bit of a fresh start and just work with another label and get rid of all the drama kind of stuff,
Yes, true.
It's weird because we did the one album, the one EP for them, which was a Forsaken Morning of Angelic Anguish, but then there was some contractual issue, and we ended up getting Relapse getting the rights to that album again, the one that Repulse did, and we were back on Relapse without even wanting to be. And it was just really weird because I remember getting a phone call from, at that time, the co-owner of Relapse. His name was Bill Yurkevich, and he called me up and he's like, motherfucker, it's like, I listened to your new EP and I wanted to hate it so much, but I love it. He's
like love and hate team.
Yeah, so it was really funny. Like they loved the EP so much that they fought to get us back on the label without even us really wanting to be on the label. But they they hated me and the band at the time, but they loved the music.
The
That they were like, well,
music.
we want to put this out because we love the music, not,
This is a
not
huge
because we like you.
anyway. This is a huge satisfaction anyway for you. But Diabolical Conquest is considered from your fans one of your main work. Do you
Yeah.
agree with that affirmation?
What's that? I'm sorry, the last part I didn't get.
Is considered one of your main work from the fan, the media. Do you agree with it with that affirmation?
Well, I mean, do I think it's one of our best work? I think the songs are great. I the time in the band was a mess. There was a lot of drug problems in the band at the time, so I don't think it's
Yeah.
like I don't think it's the best well played album. I don't think,
Yeah.
but I do think it has a great amount of personality on it, and I mean the songs are really good. I mean, especially Kyle and myself, we worked really hard in those songs for a good 3-4 years of like heavy practicing on that stuff. And then
Yeah.
once Daniel Corchado got into the band, you know, he added his own little flavor to things that really
Yeah.
added
Sure.
like a, you know, just like he just added an extra layer of something really cool to the songs with his vocal style and a little. I mean, he helped out somewhat musically
Yeah.
here and there too. So it was crazy, but we kind of like realized that at that point that we totally could get like almost reborn as a band if we just have the
Yeah.
right chemistry of people to work with, you know, because it was
That's
definitely a
amazing.
magical album. But I mean, I think if any of us, you talk to, you know, Kyle, myself, or Daniel, we're not going
Yeah.
to say that's the best work we ever done as far as like technically
And
proficient.
which is for you the best one that you could
Uh,
advise maybe for for the newbie fans? If
or-
I never heard Incantation before, for example, and you want to advise me your work, an album, which that will be also the one that I will use for the interview.
I don't know. It's hard to say. You're asking me to choose which my favorite child is or something, but
Yeah, of
I mean,
course.
I have, for me, probably my favorite one that we did was probably Vanquish and Vengeance. It was my favorite album. Just,
Yeah,
it was a magic to that album that was really great. The vibe and the band. It was a great group effort, you know. But
yeah,
you know, there's other albums, you know, that are very sentimental to me. I mean, obviously, our first album is so important because as a band, and it's
yeah.
exciting to do that. You know, so Ordo Goth is also very important. But then, you know,
It's huge.
yeah, it's hard to say though. But
Yeah,
I Vanquish and Vengeance for me is really
yeah. You are
really
basically
extra special.
answering alone to the next question because I wanted to I was asking you to if you like wanted to do like a small journey through all your albums and how the sound has changed. So you're basically answering before I asked.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, the band. It was just it's hard to really describe though the overall
Sure.
change because you know it just you know it's like a lot's changed but a lot stayed the same as well, you know.
Yeah.
So it's really difficult. For me as a songwriter, you know, I don't feel like I had substantial changes in the style. I love the style
You
of the
kept your
band.
style. Yeah,
It's more the people you work with, you know, and what they contribute to it, you know. Because
in the sound and in the composing maybe.
yeah, some of it's, you know, like I mean, sonically, obviously, it's better now than it was before. I mean, better subjective, obviously, but I mean, technically more proficient now. I mean,
Yeah.
for multiple reasons. One is that, oops, my phone. One of the reasons why is because, you know, we're better players. I understand music a little more than I did
Yeah.
back then. At the same time,
Of course.
those albums are special because the early albums are special because, you know, we didn't know what we were doing 100%, and there's
It's like the black and the white, like the opposite, you know. It's
Yeah,
yeah,
there's a beauty in being ignorant and just going for the
yeah.
music
The
100% out of
beauty
feeling.
in the both side. It's the beauty in the beginning because you have no idea what you were doing, but it was like a jump in the darkness. But now there is
Yes.
the beauty because you know what you're doing and you know what you did with all your experience. So in fact I was going to ask you about your last album, Sect of All Divinities.
Okay. Well, I mean, that album for me is definitely a yeah, it's weird because to me it's kind of a has a lot of old school sound to it. A lot of oh, thank you. Just getting just a little bit of tea. Um, what's it? Yeah, it's kind of a lot of throwback on that album for me personally
Yeah,
because I felt after I was a big fan and I really enjoyed the Profane Nexus album, but I did feel that one it was a little stiff at certain times, and I wanted to take things to a
yes,
little
true.
more of a real type vibe to it, and I
Yeah,
worked on you know we purposely tried to make not play the songs to any kind of click track and just have that raw
yeah,
feeling like we had early on where we just the drums drums might not be perfectly on time here and there and there might be flaws little flaws here and there, but you keep them there because that's the real personality and the playing and stuff, so
yes.
I think it
And
has a lot of personality on the album.
yes, also I also think that it has personality in the artwork because it's a particular artwork by Elinor Cantor.
Yeah, Eleanor Cantor, yeah,
Cantor, yeah. There is a
great.
specific message that this artwork is want to send, or is just just a pic, an artwork you liked.
Well, I mean, basically, Chuck Sherwood wrote most of the or wrote all the lyrics for the
Yeah,
album. So Chuck worked really closely with Eleanor Cantor to
yeah,
try to make sure that the concept was represented in the artwork, but at the same time, we all kind of chimed in to make sure that the way it was presented was in a good way too. Because you could add in all the parts of all the key things you want to represent the
yeah.
album, but if you
Of
don't do
course.
it in a not a productive, but a good way, it won't
Yeah,
look proper. And Eleanor Cantor really stepped up and just did an amazing piece of art, and it
yeah.
was really cool.
It's amazing.
We wanted that kind of the color schemes that he used were the color schemes that we were thinking of.
Yeah.
It just fell together great. Once we seen the final art for it, we were just like, ah, hell yeah, that looks great.
That's amazing. And and I mean, this is a silly, could be like a silly question, but it could have like also a deep meaning. We who are Incantation today, and what is changed since your first rehearsal till now?
Well, today we're just really, I think, really fortunate to still be playing is really the big thing because we never expected that. We never expected to be doing it 30 years into our
30
career.
years. Yeah,
And
I also read it that you are in a magazine and 14 notch. I don't know. I saw something on your profile,
oh,
Facebook. Yeah,
yeah, we've got number 11 in Decibel
yeah.
Magazine's
That's
best death
that's
metal
a
albums
huge
of the year, which is great for us.
congratulations. A congratulations for
Oh,
that.
thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, people need to understand that, like, for a band that has been around for 30 years to
It's not
get
easy.
it, I mean, it's easy. It's easy for a new band to come out and to blow people away with something new. But a band like us that has a long legacy, it's not easy because every time you do something,
You have to
you
evolve.
yeah. But people always, you know, might not agree with the way the new album sounds because you have other albums to compare it to.
Yeah.
If a new band comes out, they don't have nothing to compare it to, so it's easy to get higher on the
Yeah,
list.
and
So
especially the new guys that start to sound to playing music, they inspire to sound to other bands. So they, I mean, they basically are not doing something new. They are nothing to compare that their influences as well. So and yeah, it's harder
yeah,
for the biggest band and band that has like 13, 14 years of career. But as well, I mean, you toured, I think, with a lot of bands in all
yes,
your 13
fortunate.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a moment, particular moment, funny moment, beautiful moment that you remember mostly, that stay with you in all these years.
Uh, um, man, one
Oh,
moment.
I know, it's tough, it's tough. Take your time.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, there's such a lot of great, great things that happen throughout throughout our career that it's just,
Yeah,
it is really difficult to pinpoint, one thing. But I mean, one thing that I guess kind of sticks out at me was it must have been around, 94 or something like that, when we played in like, Puebla, Mexico, and the show was just insane. I mean, it was us, Immolation, and Acid Bath, and it was just such a crazy, intense show, and just
wow,
the crowd was just nonstop killing each other the whole time. It was just like it was just
crazy,
it
insane
was
people.
the most crazy show we ever played. Maybe the craziest show we ever played, but definitely at that time was the craziest show.
Oh my god,
And it just really made me feel like, this is really like, my dreams coming true
that's
as
amazing. That's
a
amazing.
musician and songwriter.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
of
And
course.
you could talk, as far as like a newer thing. A newer thing that's been blown my mind lately was the fact that once we released, our new album, we ended up getting, Sectaval Divinities ended up getting in the Billboard charts,
Yeah,
in like the top 10 records sold, for
that's
that week, which
that's
for me was,
amazing.
was
That's a huge.
impossible dream to think that.
Yeah,
And
but it means
never happened.
that, as you can
And,
see, this means that after 13 years, 30 years, you keep on doing great, and not your work is not like the others. So I mean,
oh,
this means
that's it's amazing,
yeah.
because you don't expect anything like that to happen. It's not, when you
No.
see it though, it's nice. It's not a goal. You don't, a death metal band does not have a goal to be in the charts or anything,
So they
but the
want to
fact
be
when
alternative. I mean, like they just yeah.
and the thing is too is what I'm extremely grateful for is that, so many of our peers, and no disrespect to them, but they're mostly well known for just their older stuff that they've done. They're known just for maybe their first few albums that they did in the early '90s, and then a lot of the
Yeah.
other stuff is like only kind of like, it's okay or whatever. But we've been very fortunate because since Vanquish and Vengeance came out, especially, things have just been getting bigger and bigger for us, and it's like, we're actually bigger as a band now than we were at the highest point we were in the '90s, which is just,
I mean, many bands I interviewed, when you ask, for which are your influences, they say Incantation, Immolation, like the bands
awesome.
like that. So yeah, because right now, and I'm going to the following question. Right now, the death metal scene is it's hard for the new death metal bands have their own personal identities. And what do you think about this new death metal band coming out today? Because we can say that it is a decade where trash and that are coming back together. So what do you think about all these new death metal bands around the world?
Well, I feel pretty optimistic about it because it seems to me like, I mean, first of all, it's nice because a lot of people have been, embracing bands like us
Yeah,
and Immolation as an influence, which I think is a good thing because you know, we're not a lot like say a lot of the typical death metal bands out there. So
Thanks God.
they're getting influences by bands that are say a little more interesting or experimental or something like that. And a lot of bands out there have been, if they either try to, even if they try to mimic the older stuff, a lot of them do it quite well. And a lot of bands too, though, throw in a nice, or throw in their own personality into,
They are
say,
trying, yeah, but
you
it's
know,
not easy. It's not easy in doing better or find new, new sounds because,
well, it's important to have.
yeah,
I mean, everybody has influences. I mean, that's why
yeah.
you're doing it. But
I know. For example, a band. They are from Sweden. They are called Beast.
yeah,
They are a death metal band. They inspire from the whole death metal school, but I mean their sound is like the old death metal. But they are trying to be innovating, like um, with the social media, try to having huge contact with the fans, posting what they're doing, even
yeah,
silly things. They are trying to do their best to be innovating in a different way. Of course, it's not probably a way that is you can call old school, but we are in the 21st century, so we are to just to move forward. And I want
well,
to know now the influences because we say that you influenced all the new metal bands, but who influenced in Incantation?
I mean, the list goes on for like probably an hour long because it was everything that I was into up to that point. But I mean, the stuff that really pushed me over the edge was hearing albums like "Possessed Seven Churches." When I heard that, when I
Yeah,
heard
Jeff, did you?
Sepultura,
Yeah,
the Morbid Visions.
nervous.
Um, I was getting into tape trading
Yeah,
around 80. It must have been late 86. I think I started getting into tape trading. So I heard a
when
lot
I
of
was
like,
born.
yeah, yeah. So, I started hearing about a lot of really underground bands. Like I remember getting like Necrophagia demos and Master and Necrovore and hearing early Morbid Angel, like,
Yeah,
pre-album,
the
a
Harley
lot of
Morbid, yeah,
pre-album
Harley
stuff.
Morbid
And,
Angel. Yeah,
and those things were very, inspiring to me because it's like I was really into metal and stuff, and I was into thrash and into like the thrashy death metal kind of stuff. But then I started
yeah,
hearing there was like this other brew that was boiling in the underground of something different that was pushing things to an even more extreme level. So those kind of things really influenced me a lot. I mean, there was, I mean, around 86, 87, it was an
yeah.
amazing time for metal. I mean, you have albums like,
For all the metal
yeah,
in,
Torment and Fire by Sacrifice, you have
yeah.
Slaughter Strapato, you had
But do you think there is
Dark
some?
Angel.
Do you think there is some difference in that metal from we can say New York and that metal from Florida?
Um, I mean, yeah, I mean, there was differences in the bands, but
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of Florida had, Morris Sound Studios where a lot of those bands
yeah,
recorded at, which was one of the early studios that were kind of, shaping the sound of what at that time what was considered modern death metal. So I
yeah.
think I think that had a lot to do with giving Florida its own, individual sound. But I mean,
Sound.
there's no doubt that they had strong ass bands. I mean, it had Massacre, it had Morbid Angel,
Yes,
Obituary,
each band.
Deicide,
Yeah,
Level.
the sound.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, Level and Cannibal both were New York bands that flew, moved down to Florida, but they just had a really strong scene at Death, obviously. Just so they had great bands.
yeah.
I don't know why they had such great bands so early on. I don't know what was in the water there that did. I think, well, honestly, I do know for some extent, because actually there was a thrash band called Nasty Savage from down there that used to play out a lot, and a lot of those death metal bands, from my perspective, I think listened to Nasty Savage and kind of took what they were doing and made it
Yeah.
even heavier. You know, I mean, I was a Nasty Savage fan too. I mean, I still am, but I was back then. I never really thought of them as an influence, but maybe if I would have got the
Yeah.
opportunity to be live.
But we can say that also during the ages, the New York, we can say New York scenario brought a huge band, for example, as Nile, even if they are a little bit extreme, they have huge band. And for me, as I mean, just woman that listens music, I'm more from New York side, because so anyway, I wanted to ask, but now I want to focus. It's the last question. I just want to focus on your personal influences. I mean,
Okay.
John McEntee personal influences. I mean, just for example, pick 5 albums or song or artists that influenced for your childhood till today.
Well, I mean, I'm super huge Tony Iommi fan, so I mean,
I mean,
you know, Black Sabbath. I mean, really,
they are the king. Yeah,
they're the beginning of everything, you know.
yeah,
So
Black Sabbath. Yeah,
like, I mean, I could pick almost anything, but really, probably the album that hit me the hardest at the time, surprisingly, was "Born Again" by Black Sabbath.
Born Again
When
by
I
Black Sabbath. Yeah,
Yeah, when I heard that album, it was the most evil thing I think I ever heard in my life, and I was sold on it, you know. So yeah, it was that. It was like, I would say, man, it's tough. Like Merciful Fate, like early
Merciful
Merciful Fate
Fate. Yeah,
was
as
a
well.
big influence, you know. You know, Possessed was a super big
Obsessed. Yeah,
influence, you
Jeff.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
very
mean,
huge.
Necrophagia was a huge influence on me
Yeah,
too. Heavy metal bands, you know, like Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Accept,
yeah,
you know, Exciter. You
Exciter.
know,
Yeah.
there was so much great stuff that was coming out.
You are the first singer that I interviewed from a death metal band that's saying to me not that it was not influenced by the hard rock. Hard rock. Really, but it's not forced. I mean, everyone has their own I mean, your own influences, but most of the band that I interviewed from the metal scene, they were influenced by jazz, by hard rock. But you were the first that was telling me what I wanted to hear. That
Well, those are the bands that really influence. I mean, I was always a fan of heavy guitar and music, you know. I mean, even when I mean, I was really young in the, you know, in the 70s. I was a child, and yeah, I mean, I was, you know, into what was heavy then was like maybe Kiss or something like that, or
sure, of
you
course.
know, AC/DC or you know, whatever.
Sure.
But you know, really when things really started to take off was, you know, more of the 80s stuff was the stuff that made me like, this is I started to focus in on it. Like, I think I remember really being Merciful Fate. When I heard Merciful Fate's, you know, especially like the Nuns Have No Fun EP, I just remember I wanted to have a band like that so bad, and we had this really lame ass band. I think the band was called Black Mass, and it was like it was basically just us young kids trying to rip off Merciful Fate, but having no idea how to play close to as good as them. And it was just really fun. I mean, it was the stupidest music. We were just like, you know, Hail Satan and everything, but it was just really fun. You know, those were the things. Those were like the pivot points in life where you just kind of like learn you want to do something. We didn't know how to do it, but you know, we were like,
you will learn how to do it. That will come later. So now we are at the end. I just want to just leave a message, if you want, to your fan and Incantation fan and PoisonedRock follower, of course.
Yeah, well, just you know, we just want to thank everybody for the support. I mean, you know, I'm happy. I mean, I'm really happy that things have been going super great with the Sect of Vile Divinities album. It's a super,
Yeah.
it's mind blowing, really. We honestly, none of us in the band expected it to do as well as it did, and not that we had low expectations. We just didn't think it was going to be one of the, top albums of the year. We weren't expecting that at all.
It is. It is.
We're used to being like, whatever. But anyway, but but we're also really happy because we have a really great old school fan base too. I mean, I've been, I still keep in touch with a lot of friends from the early days and stuff. So
That's
I'm
amazing.
really fortunate, and so far I've had an amazing career as a musician. I mean, we travel the world to play for different people everywhere.
Yeah.
And the fact that people, still give a crap about the stuff we do is a great honor. And, just want to thank everybody out there that, supports us in any way whatsoever. Just, if we play in your area, come out, to the show, check it out and stuff. And we'll always do our best to get the best we can, For us, every show, regardless if it's a big packed house or not many people, we give 100% of everything, because it's not about how many people are there. It's about the sincerity of the people. Every person
means being
comes to the door paid.
Yeah, this means being humble. This is what a musician should have. All the musicians should have, spontaneously and being humble.
Well, metal, is a brotherhood, and you do it because you love doing it. It's the fame and the popularity and the great, we got good chart success, all this stuff. It's great, but it's all side stuff,
I know.
I had a blast this last weekend. We were jamming with the band, writing some new music, and Kyle just sent me some mixes of some of the demos we did, and hearing it, you're just like, fuck. This is fucking awesome. It's so great to be playing metal. Those are the moments that are super amazing, just to be able to hear, you do what you love doing and have it do well.
Yes. So thank you so much. Really, I really appreciate it. And I hope to see you live soon. I don't know. We really hope to be on the road, everyone.
Yes, I hope so too.
In some festival or whatever. So thank you so much, and talk to you soon. Have a good rest of the day. Bye.
Thank you so
much.